And ready to rock.
Welcome to the First Focal Plane podcast with Sean and Rooster.
Yeah, there we go. Well, and we're staring at Matt's hoodie. There we go. There we go.
This is the First Focal Plane podcast with Sean and Rooster. I am Rooster. Can't you tell by my big bushy beard? That's what happens when you don't put me in the intro and Kurt doesn't show up for an episode.
Yeah, I guess I need to edit that. Hey, anyway, we should add Chris to Sean, Chris, and Rooster. Okay.
I think Chris, Sean, and Rooster has a really nice ring.
Chris, Sean, and Rooster, or Chris, Sean, and Rooster. Yeah,
with Chris and Sean and Rooster.
Yeah, and I guess Sean and Rooster are there. Yeah. Well, Rooster's not here tonight. He has other commitments, so yeah.
He abandoned us.
That's right. Abandoned us when we have a very special celebrity guest, which we'll get into in a little bit here. But guys, welcome to the First Focal Plane podcast, episode number 40, where the only one under 40 is me. And I'm grateful for such a fact. I'm very lucky to be surrounded by such a wealth of knowledge and genuine class acts, including you, Matt. So
what kind of ass-kissing bullshit intro is that?
You know what? I got to step it up. Kurt's been writing them, so I just figured, you know what? We're going to go nice and genuine tonight. So.
All right. I appreciate it.
You bet. But as always, we are brought by EM Precision Rifles in Leduc, Alberta, Canada. Canada's premier precision builder of lightweight hunting rifles, starter packages, and ELR rigs. EM Precision has the right stuff to get in the field, onto the range, and into the winner's circle. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, and their website, emprifles.ca.
Well, we are also brought to you by Bolt Action Coffee. Get into the precision coffee game with Bolt Action Coffee. With exclusive award-winning roasts boasting coffee cupping scores of 85.5 or higher, Bolt Action Coffee roasts will get your morning started right and keep you on target all day long. Hand-loaded weekly to ensure quality of consistent flavor and freshness, Bolt Action Coffee is roasted and packaged Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Then all orders are shipped on Thursdays. This process ensures supply order volumes match customer order volumes and prevents aging on the shelf. Kurt ages on the shelf all the time.
He's already expired, I think.
But I will say he's also extremely bitter. And Bolt Action Coffee is just trying to avoid that. Anyway, specially brewed with the precision shooting community in mind. Choose between Scopes Up, Overwatch, and Suppressed, and the newly released Midnight Canoe Trip.
Midnight Canoe Trip.
We got to ask them why that name. We really have to figure that out.
It's like gun reference, boat reference.
Well, but it still could be a gun reference, but it also, we just got to ask them is all I'm saying. Anyways, at checkout, use code FirstFocalPlane and get 10% off your order, because who wants to pay taxes nowadays? I just read what's written, folks.
Yeah, right. You ad-lib that.
I totally did, yeah. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, and on their website at boltactioncoffee.com.
You bet. And last but certainly not least, we are also brought to you by Call Sign 66. They are a veteran-based organization founded to facilitate multi-generational passage of information, ballistic applications R&D, and shooter development. The omnidirectional passage of information is key to the community's success and growth, as our organizational philosophy is such that we all have something to offer. Welcome to the Brotherhood. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, and their website at callsign66.ca. And just want to give a quick shout out to those guys. Their courses are filling up quick. Make sure you get in on them, because there's not going to be that many, considering if the rest of the world goes the route of Regina. We might be stuck. So, yeah.
Let's hope that nobody goes the route of Regina. Never thought I'd hear myself say that.
The route of Regina.
Yeah.
Well, right on. So we are joined by a very special guest. Without further ado, Matt, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, everyone there. It's Matt and Matt Hipwell here, and probably those who don't know me, associated with Wolverine Supplies, located out in western Manitoba in the small metropolis of Virden there. hidden away about 5 miles out of town, so we can try and stay out of everyone's view every now and again. But all our loyal customers seem to find us, which is fantastic, and we love the support that we get from the entire shooting community.
Nice. Yeah, you are kind of tucked away right on the banks of the Assiniboine there, aren't you?
Yes. Well, that goes a little bit with our history. Started off as a home-based business, and there's a little bit of a story why we never moved.
Well, hey, that's fine. I love making that trip because there's nothing prettier. I always take the back route coming from Regina. I go north at Mooseman and then come in down through the valley there. And, it's just, especially in the fall, it's gorgeous. And, yeah, anyway.
Well, you're not a destination location unless you have to be at a specific destination.
Yes.
That's the truth.
I think I meant to say something there and it just didn't quite come out.
You're not a destination location unless you're not a specific destination. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
your English is impossible.
Guys, if you want to know other extremely obvious things, just ask me. I'll be here all night.
Captain Obvious right here. That's why he's got the Captain Obvious symbol in the background.
Yeah, that's what that is.
That's the Chris call or whatever. Anyway,
yeah.
So Matt, why don't you give a little bit of background about yourself?
Sure. Well, sort of gone around a full circle. So started off here in Durden, but I wasn't always in the firearms industry 100% of the time. Wolverine, as if anyone's caught the history of the story of Wolverine, that's John and Pat, my parents, started that business back over 30. We're over 30 years old now, and like many it was a true home-based business. It started off in an office, spare bedroom. Then we lost the rec room, and it stayed like that for a number of years. And then there was a push to do an addition on the house, and we doubled the floor space. But that was short-lived, and I'll get into the rest of that later. But for myself, when I left school, everyone's got to work, so off to the races we went. So while in college, spent a short stint in the reserve, Canadian Armed Forces Reserves. Out of Brandon, and while I was taking my background is actually business administration, and get to the end of that, well, now I need work. So I came to a three-way crossroads. I had three options. I was either going to provincial corrections, I was going overseas with one RCHA at the time it was to Kosovo, or the RCMP came knocking, and I went to option C there and ended up with in the RCMP. So that's where I spent about almost 17 years worth all over Manitoba. So,
well, that's lucky you got to stay in your home province too. It
was a little bit ironic, at the time, because when you get to depot, for those who don't have spoke this amount, I think you get closer to graduation. I was about 6 weeks left. They're sort of saying you get picked 3 divisions. And me immigrating to Canada at a young age, a majority of my family's over there, and my view was, I was newly married at the time too. We decided that if we can, we'll have the opportunity for our kids to see their grandparents whenever we can. So I went D division, F division for Saskatchewan, and K for K division for Alberta, and that was kind of the route I took. And they said, "Oh, you want D? You want to go back?" And I'm like, "Well, is it an option?" And it was almost like, "Yeah, here you go." And I was like, "Ooh, maybe I should ask for something harder."
Yeah, that's right. You got a Cayman Islands post? Let's
exactly. Little did I know, I should have maybe reached out further away. But no, that's what we chose, and my wife and I chose. And back to Manitoba we came, and then the rest, and then general duty postings in the Parkland area and the metropolis of Winnipegosis, then into our headquarters where I spent almost 50% of my career working out of our headquarters. That was plain clothes in our drug unit, and then got on our emergency. I was on our emergency response team.
When you're saying headquarters, do you mean in Regina?
No, in Winnipeg. So
I see.
In Manitoba's headquarters, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then with our ERT team, and then got into I was always involved with firearms, obviously, and was doing a lot of instruction, and then had the opportunity. I actually got it's kind of it was a privilege. I got to roll out the much overdue and very time-consuming patrol carbine program. So I was the one who got to roll it out from Manitoba. So that was a really unique experience. I got to work well because of being in what they call Northwest region. So Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and the territories fall in there as well. Spent a lot of time working with the instructors in Saskatchewan and Alberta. Got to pilot that program, many trips to Regina, because that's the brain cell when it comes to the game.
You don't know how much trouble that program caused me when I was the vice president at the Regina Wildlife Federation.
Oh, I heard the stories from the other side. So
yeah.
So I spent a chunk of time in training in that program and delivering that program through Manitoba and a little bit in Saskatchewan and a couple times in Alberta. And got the opportunity. They got foolish. They promoted me back to my hometown. Nice. So that's how I ended up back home, and that's what brought me back to Verdun.
Nice.
So were you involved very much with Wolverine when you were with the RCMP, or did you more get involved with that after you retired from the RCMP?
I obviously was arm's length. I would trade shows at the time, right? When the web stores hadn't developed the way they had. Calgary Gun Show was always a huge event for us. Right. So I'd often do those trips out west. Excuse me. And one of the others that became getting our products into the LE military market was CanSec, which is located in Ottawa. So I would make trips out for that, and then a lot of it was just helping explain some of the product and sort of some of that side of things. So it was a little bit here and there. Those were sort of the big ones. Wolverine days, came back for, I can't remember the first one I came back for. I think it was the first range event. All I remember is I'm like, there was a couple of new staff members, and they must have thought I was a real pain in the arse at the time because they were like, oh, you got to do this and this. I'm like, well, this is crazy. Why am I doing this? And sort of made
well, the boss's son's coming to crack the whip.
I can see it now. I'm thinking, this guy's a pain. What a dickhead. But no, it's come full circle on that side of things. But I look back, I don't remember which was the first one. Like, we had such a small lineup on the range. Yeah. And then we progressed each year. And then I did become more involved with them in helping with the range setup and setting up the way we had the flow of people in and out so we could get as many people through onto the range, because our numbers just, to be honest, they just kept increasing. Thank God we got year 30, which was 2019, out, because that was the biggest event yet. And the number of people, well, we figured, well, we conservatively estimated we doubled the population of Verdun in those 2 days.
with the recent ones, with me attending, it's a well-oiled machine. Like, props to you, man. Like, that's a heck of an event. And Chris, if you can ever make the trip, I would highly recommend it. It's phenomenal.
I almost went in 2019, and I regret not going, because now obviously not having one in 2020, probably not having one this year. So I'll have to wait for the way things are going. I'll have to wait for Wolverine Days 2028 or something like that.
Yeah, the way it is looking, it is. For us, the 2019 was fantastic. Sean, you made it, and that's the biggest to date. We'd love to have it again. Obviously, the dynamics of the range event and the firearms out there has changed again. So that's one of the things our industry is very, I find there's many resilient businesses. There are very many adaptive businesses, and there's more and more, I find there's more and more cooperation about how we can work together so we can all move forward and build a better and stronger industry as a whole.
That sounds like a good thing, regardless of what's going on politically.
Yeah, and it's so refreshing to hear, someone as prominent in the industry as you say that, because, there's always these little feuds that not that you guys have ever had that, but there's always this guy doesn't like this guy, or that it's all gun owners who are type A personalities generally, and then all gun owners have an ego, from what I found. So, and not to mention, if you start a business, you're an uber ego kind of thing. And, and then if somebody rubs you the wrong way or whatever, it could be difficult. So it's very refreshing to hear, somebody, that runs a business like yourself to say those things. It's awesome. So
all we can do is try, right? Of course, there's always bumps in the road and there's hurdles, and right now it's more than hurdles. It's damn roadblocks that we keep getting thrown up.
Yeah.
So we're always looking to see what we can do different.
Nice. Okay. So what's the state of the industry? What's the state of the business after like May 1st?
Oh boy.
That's the answer right there. You're just going to laugh in your face and move on.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it's kind of, I was part of a Conservative Caucus Zoom session last night. So that was with the Conservative Party. And they sort of asked the same thing as I did the introduction. I said, well, the ironic thing, it was on the eve of that was my birthday. So we're getting the phone calls and we're starting to get, and different people in the industry were aware of certain things. And I'm like, this is just a great way to finish off the day, as we know, and we're waiting for whatever to unfold the next morning. Mm-hmm. There was some indication of some guns and stuff like that, but no one knew for sure, right?
There's a lot of speculation for sure.
There was, right? And it just threw everything in the turmoil. People didn't know. There was a lot of uncertainty. Like, could transfers be completed still? Could new transfers be started? When was the last time that you could start a transfer? What about the ones that are no one knew about? What about all the non-restricted stuff that all of a sudden went from non-restricted to prohibited, right? We went the full spectrum, right? So it was so many questions, and there was different briefings, and those who, I think many of the businesses had good relationships with their MPs where they have that, while there was phone calls and emails and everything else. And this is amidst COVID, right? So there's Zoom calls and Teams meetings and everything under the sun, just to try and wrap your head around what you're going to do. And I'm sure many businesses such as ourselves now, it's like taking stock of what inventory do we have, what can I actually sell now, what can't I sell now, and what am I going to do with this warehouse full of stuff that they've just said with a stroke of a pen. That was the sort of first part of it. And then you come on to the next part. Over the next few days, we got the infamous FRT changes. Well, all of a sudden this one happened, and then this one happened. Well, there's still a lack of clarity for sure about what it is, because I don't want to go into that whole FRT debate. We'll be here all night. And I don't have enough rum downstairs to deal with that one. But there's all those types of things, right? So the industries move forward. There was lots of phone calls. Those of us who have partners, friends in the industry, were asking, well, what are you guys doing? Or have you heard this? And there was a lot of private messaging back and forth on different things of what we can do. And as the sort of smoke settled and cleared, it was, okay, that's prohibited. This isn't. This is what we're selling. And COVID fed the industry to start with, as everyone knows, at the start, like ammunition sales, rimfire rifles and shotguns, those are things that we really noticed that all increased dramatically in March and April. Well, it didn't, those sort of areas didn't really slow down, but then we were getting hampered with supply lines. Delay, just like we talked about briefly, Sean, before this show in your industry, parts, follow-up ammunition, and then deliveries of products just deteriorated. And then for us, we certainly saw lack of product June, July, August. Things seemed to make a little bit. Distributors across started to get product in and sort of see a resurgence.
It's just almost like the perfect storm. You got like $500,000 worth of product that you're not allowed to sell, and all the stuff you're allowed to sell you can't get because COVID is going on and supply shortages and everything else.
Yeah, and I think every retail store has their own stories about the strengths and the ups they saw over the last year. And there was some, my understanding is some stores that finished the year extremely well and extremely in a strong position, which is fantastic. It shows that the firearms owners and the new firearms owners and the appetite for people to get their firearms license right now is really strong. And we all know in our prospective locations across the country, courses have been taught or not taught, or they're 6 instead of the 12 occupancy, or they have to. Yeah, it's just, and they definitely don't want to push that one online. I've noticed,
Wow.
that appetite now for new shooters, whether and all in all areas, like
Definitely.
we got stories of families now that they want to shoot. They see it's something they wanted to do. Now's the time.
Yeah.
So we've got families, and we've got husband and wives coming in with kids. I can think of one story in particular. A husband and wife come in and kids, and the oldest boy, he's got his list. He wanted Ruger Precision Rimfire. He knew what optic he wanted. He knew what bipod he wanted, and this is where he was going to start. Mom and dad, well, they were off on the handgun side. They knew what they wanted. It was kind of. It was her choice. She got to choose. So they started there, and away they went. So
That's cool.
Yeah,
that was kind of an interesting thing when COVID hit. There were so many people that, just in my own circle that had never shown interest in guns before. Next thing you know, they're on Facebook and even publicly asking people about how you get a firearms license. Or I had multiple people, and not nobody in my own province, actually. I had a friend in Alberta and a friend in Ontario message me privately, asking how to get a gun, and they both wanted them for completely different reasons.
Yep.
Guy in Ontario was like, if the shit hits the fan, I want a gun. And I'm like, okay, well, don't tell anyone else that.
Yeah.
The guy in Alberta was like, well, you know what? I think I'm going to go hunting this season because I'm not confident that we're going to be able to afford meat otherwise, And so he wanted to start hunting. So there seemed to be so many different reasons for so many new shooters, and all at a time when none of them can get a license because almost nobody's holding courses.
Exactly.
And I'm pretty sure that there are many businesses out there that get phone calls like, hey, how do I buy a gun? Well, basically explain the process. Well, I don't have a PAL. Well, no, I still want to buy a gun. Well, no, it doesn't work like that.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere. Nothing's going to you.
Well, and the amount of people like I had a similar situation to you, Chris. I had coworkers, message me from all across Canada saying, hey, how can I do this now? Can I just go to Cabela's and buy a gun? I'm like, well, like Matt said, do you have a PAL? Well, what's that? Well, possession and acquisition license here, and you got to go through this. He's like, really? You can't just go and buy a gun across like you go buy a liter or 4 liter of milk at the store.
But the government's been telling me that that's how it works.
Exactly. Yeah. So
it's been nutty.
It's almost. I'm glad to see the industry doing as well as they are. And Adam Caruana from Amchar Wholesale was on a previous episode saying he was having a record year, and that's for restricteds. That's Glocks and that sort of thing, right? So it's unreal. Yeah, and that's huge. I just wish that was happening under better circumstances. And with all the uncertainty going on now, it's almost disheartening. And but you got to keep fighting, and you got to keep your nose to the grindstone, right? So
from somebody who's watching on the outside, and Matt, I'd love to hear your perspective on this. The gun industry seems like such a unique animal in that I can't say it's feast or famine, because I'm not sure how often it's famine, but it seems like the panic buying with the ebbs and flows of political situations, both in Canada and in the US, it just seems like such a unique thing to the gun industry. And like, I've often wondered, is that even anything that as a retailer or a distributor, is that anything you can even plan for? Like, or does it catch you off guard every time it happens?
I don't think anyone planned for, like, I'll back up to COVID, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was almost like with a flip of the switch that things skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, my wife and I had been out of the country. We got back in on the 13th, and like the world turned off on the 15th.
Right.
So it was a little bit different, and all of a sudden, the phone calls, the emails, the traffic, the buying went up, and everyone stopped moving. Like, I don't remember. Like, I'm 45 minutes west of Brandon, and traveling to Brandon wasn't an uncommon thing. I must have been like 6 weeks before I went there, and literally, there's no traffic on the road. And I don't recall what it was, but it was ironic. It was like you looked around, and it was just like there's no one around. There was no one moving.
Yeah.
we had people commenting like a tank of gas in their truck lasted 3 weeks. That's unheard of.
Well, and,
And of
even
course, it lasts 3 weeks at a time when fuel went down to what, like
yeah,
69 cents a liter?
yeah.
And that was the other thing. Everyone, I can afford to buy gas, but I got nowhere to go.
That's right.
So yeah, people were filling. There was that a little bit filling jerry cans and putting it in storage. But
Yeah.
going back to the retail side, and I remember he's a local individual, and the schools were, well, I can't remember right now. It's because it flip flopped so much. When my kids were in school, out of school, half in school. But we had a gentleman come because all the sports were canceled, and yeah, thanks, JR. He throws up there.
Of course, that's the first question we get after we ask for questions, right?
For the audio listeners, JR on the Facebook says, Matt, you don't look like you're aging. What's your secret?
I lost the beard. We had so a guy comes in and he did his order because there was so much unclarity. Can our doors be open? Not be open? Well, we shut because there was a lot of speculation. We did curbside pickup. Obviously, the mail side of things was good. That went to the post office, and we were good to go. So the guy comes in and he ordered 22 ammo, and I said, yeah. He says, my kids are going to shoot a lot of gophers this year. I'm like, sure. What do you want? 16,000 rounds. I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, it's not like disappearing, but yep. It was a 16,000 round, and because that was what he'd come up with, as that was the magic number that he needed for his kids to shoot gophers. Now that's a lot of gopher shooting.
Well, was it a lot of gophers, or does he have that little faith in his children's sharpshooter skills?
I'm not gonna lie. I've got a buddy of mine who goes out. He calls it the Gopher Holocaust, and that's an easy 5,000 rounds in 2 days with Rimfire, and so I can kind of see where he's getting at. But anyway.
But yeah, there was all kinds of unique situations like that. So it was
is that all unique to this year, or like does that happen sometimes? Like you bring it. Oh well, we should be well stocked for 22 ammo for a little while, and then like one farmer comes in and buys 150,000 rounds and wipes you out.
Yeah. No, doesn't happen all the time. Yes, you'll get a spark here and there, but we got consistent. I would have said there was a number of people consistently buying more ammunition than normal. Some of it because there was three things, right? There was supply. There was the U.S. dollar and the cost, and as we all know, shooting's a great social distancing activity. So that was the third side of it. So there was a part of like the family I spoke of earlier. It was something they could take up together as a family because there's no summer hockey, there's no baseball, right? Even the golf courses are really restricted in some areas on what they could and couldn't do.
Right.
And people refound their shooting roots.
Oh, well, like I said before, I wish it was under better circumstances, right?
Absolutely.
And the optimist in me, thinks that, why would it take a crisis to do this? But at the same time, that's kind of what we needed. We needed a crisis to bring everybody together and kind of see the big picture, right? And
if it brings everybody together.
Well, you'll never bring everybody together, right?
One thing that we as gun owners are really good at are creating social groups and creating rifts within our social group.
That's right. That's right. But it almost, I always shit on the joke, well, my guns are Mike from Canmore and I lost them in a boat accident and stuff. But that was almost at the beginning or like a rallying cry, like, hey, buy cheap, stack it deep kind of thing and get it going. Like right when that OIC dropped, it was like, here we go, guys. This is it. This is the beginning of the end. And
at this point, I'm wishing I had bought it cheaper and stacked it deeper.
Well, I stacked it deep, but my credit card took a bit of a hit. That's for sure. But anyway. Well.
So what about now? Have things sort of leveled out at this point, or are you still seeing a lot of that like real, like as soon as something comes in, you'll get a rush buy and it's gone sort of stuff, or have things kind of evened out?
ebbs and flows a little bit. Definitely, I would say we're certainly steady. I personally find that this market sort of slows down February to June and then picks up, and that's our cycle, right? Because obviously, June you're hitting the sporting, all the competitive shooting sports are out, and you get into the provincials and national competitions. June, July, August, September, even October. We all know the bird hunting, and the hunting seasons all pick up in late summer and carry right through to the winter, January, depending on where you are. That's personally what I've kind of seen. But I would say we're more steady, if that's how we want to look at it. Things are still running along quite smoothly, and which is fantastic. And there's a lot of buyer interest across the board. I think there's many businesses are seeing the same thing. And like when you spoke of Adam before, had a record year, but I don't think it's slowing down. I think it's just becoming more steady.
Maybe stabilizing more.
Yeah,
than
stabilize, better word. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So you guys are pretty well diverse as a gun retailer. I mean, you guys sell guns good for 3-gun or other competition, with handguns and competition shotguns, plus hunting shotguns, hunting rifles. Like you cover the gamut, I guess you could say, in terms of the types of firearms that you guys sell. Do you think that diversity is going to be more important as a firearms retailer in the future as things progress, especially if we end up with a liberal government for the next 4 years?
Well, I think you might have answered the question with your last comment there.
that's why I wanted to put that caveat on there.
Yeah, no, that you might know. Diversity within a business is important to any business, I think. You can take any business. You don't want to sell one item for one reason only, because you at some point you're going to pigeonhole your clientele, your market, where you got to find something different. The diversity, and that allows you to sell and cater all year round as well, right? So those that sell heavier on the hunting side are going to see that upswing late summer, fall, winter, and early winter, right? So whereas now you go indoors in the winter, it's your Rimfire, it's your pistol comp, your IPSC, IDPA, that kind of stuff. You come into the spring, well, I'll get into the outdoor sports, like you said, PRS, ORPS, now the outdoor shooting sports, cowboy action for various parts of the country is a strong sport. So being diverse, I think, is critical. It's a very important aspect as a business to be able to cater to as many customers as possible and provide your best knowledge, your best service that you can go along with it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Wow. I'm kind of at a loss for words here, but speaking to the diversity side, you guys don't just have, you're not tied into just one or two lines of guns like some stores. You got everything all the way up from Accuracy International bolt guns, all the way, I'm not going to say down, but down to like Rock Island Armory and stuff like that, so, like when I started dealing with you guys, when I got into guns around 2012, 2013 myself, I frequented your establishment a fair amount because, you guys catered to the 3-gun world, and that was my, go fast or die was my kind of aspect. Right. So, there were multiple circumstances where I'd make the trip coming home from Winnipeg and walk in the door and, coming in the door, and there's Mike at the front counter, hey, how's it going? Or the guy, I say that this guy has the greatest name in forever, in all the names. Guy Pounder is amazing. That guy is stellar, and he's got that British accent, and it just every time I walk, hey Sean, how's it going? Oh, good, yeah. And, good, just you always feel like you're walking into to like Cheers, where everybody knows your name kind of thing, and it was it was really good. And Wolverine is near and dear to my heart because my family is from my father's side of the family is from Crandall, Manitoba, so that's a stone's throw away from you essentially. It's a little ways, but still I disagree. Well, it's a lot easier to say Zach. He says Zach. I'm not even going to attempt to say his name. Schwingenschwagel. He says I disagree. Second best name. So, but back to what I was saying. It's near and dear to my heart. Like when you guys all opened up, and especially right on the Assiniboine River Valley there, it's good. It's a gorgeous drive, and it's a little out of the beaten path. Like you're not right on the number one, but you're not far away. You're a good 5 minutes out of town, and it's nice. So
it's well, like I said, getting back to the why we ended up in 5 miles out in the country, and
Lance says that guy's head's gonna swell up now.
Lance is Guy's probably already gone to bed now.
He'll catch it on the podcast on the repeat.
Yeah, exactly. Tell him to catch it in the morning. No, being out in the countryside. Well, that was kind of touched on earlier. He was going to be my father there. He came. I was posted up in Grandview, so getting towards the end of my first posting, I think it was 04, 05, somewhere around there. They come up for a visit because you only get like back in my Mountie days, you got one weekend off a month. Well, so that's when family came to visit, etc. Anyway, he comes up, and for anyone who's met father, kind of walks in my house up there, and he has this roll of paper tucked under his arm. He's kind of got a bit of a goofy grin on his face. I'm like, there's something going on. He's not saying too much, and so we sit down, and of course he's a Scotch drinker, so we find him a Scotch, and then we sit down, and he goes, I said, well, what's with the roll of paper? He says, I'm going to build a store. I'm thinking, fantastic. He's going to move out of the country. He's going to build a store in Burton. He looks at me and goes, why would I do that? Like, isn't that what I'm thinking to myself? I'm kind of a little bit dumbfounded there. I'm like, isn't that what most people would do? And then I'm like, I kind of answered my own question in that, not most people. He says, well, no, I'm going to walk to work. I'm like, you don't walk to work? I'm going to say, build a store in Burton and go walk to work? He says, no, I'm going to build it. He's explaining, it's basically going to build it in the backyard. And that's exactly what happened. And so that's
wow.
why we stayed. He wanted to walk to work. So he stayed there. And then we've gone through a few evolutions of that building to get to the size we are, and taken over other parts of the property along the way. So that's what happens. You want to walk to work.
Sorry, Chris. Yeah. So where did that idea come from for John?
Which part?
Well, the building the store and expanding the business. Like where? What was the main factor in that?
Things were progressing. And that's like Chris, you touched on earlier about me being involved when I was with the RCMP, and sort of, I don't know what brought it on. They hired their first full-time employee just prior to this. And it was like, well, we're out of space. So he designed and built the building, and a good friend of the family, and always made comments, build 2 stories. Make sure you build 2 stories so you got room. And it's like, well, he won't be. Dad's response: don't need 2 stories. Don't need 2 stories. Be big enough. So 6 months later, after we move in, I'm like, what are you doing? He says, we're building. We're not big enough.
We're going to put a second story on.
Yeah, didn't go to the second story, but they doubled
increased the footprint.
After 6 months, we doubled it again. I think we were 30 by 60, and then it went another 30 by 60.
What year are we talking about that this happened? Where he comes into your house with a Scotch and a roll of paper under his arm?
2005.
So this is really before the. Well, I don't know. Maybe I should ask the question. It seems like that would have been before online sales would have been huge in Canada. Like, is
I don't remember the date, but we were, well, my understanding is, and this is between my father and my one sister worked in the business at the time. That was sort of, we were one of the earlier web stores for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know who was first out there, but it definitely was an early part. And for being in a real rural location, that was a key factor for Wolverine, and was to be able to get our products to all of you across the country.
That makes a lot of sense. And when did you guys start doing Wolverine days?
It was late 2000s, as I'm told, but the
Okay.
range events didn't happen right away. I think, like when Sean was there in 2019, so that was 2019, I believe the first range event. We were in about year 6 or year 7 for range events. And the
Okay.
first couple were quite small. Like I was to do an open house, and we did the open house, but we filled the store up, and it's like, well, people want to go somewhere else. So then we had someone had this bright idea. Well, let's have the range event, and then it just snowballed from there.
Well, it really seems like your dad had a great vision for not only for what he wanted to build his business into, but what he wanted his life to look like. And you guys just kind of adapted everything around that just kind of in the right way, right? You got a store out in the middle of nowhere. Well, that's okay because we're running a yearly event that brings people to us, well, you're also out in the middle of nowhere, but we're going to be one of the first web retailers, online retailers in Canada, and all the because it seems like if John had tried to do that in the 70s, it may have been a little bit more difficult to be outside of Verdun, Manitoba. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like in the early days, it was mail order, right? Like
Yeah. Okay.
the newspapers, the Gun Runner, Access to Firearms, right, were huge. Those were the legendary advertising documents for the firearms market back, even in the late 80s, early 90s, and even the mid 90s.
Which I'm
The
sure
old-
reached a smaller audience than a web page does nowadays.
Oh,
Hey.
yeah.
Well, correct, and look at how access to firearms, how it's evolved now, and it's still a massive publication when you look at everything today. So.
Or even the old SIR catalog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. Hey, I just want to pick up. I saw a question on the side there. Someone's asking.
Yeah, we've got a few actually. What was your first one you wanted to touch?
I was going to say, when are you planning an indoor range? Actually, we have Verdun has an indoor range. It's quite unique in that way. And our ranges aren't part of Wolverine. It's a separate wildlife association. Look after the ranges, separate board of directors. But we're quite lucky. The wildlife group built a range back in the early 70s, and we've been able to hang on to it. So we've got it's a Type 5 or a nice 4-bay, 20-meter indoor range for all your rimfire and pistol calibers. So
is that through Fort LaBosse?
Yeah, that's through Fort LaBosse. That's how our wildlife association works under.
Okay.
So you've got another question that you just answered, so I'll bring that one up next. You answered the second part of it, but the first part of it is: does Wolverine sell used guns, and what length is your range? But
yes, we do sell used guns and trades, we purchase estates, help in any of that area, depending on everyone's financial needs, depending on what it is. Yeah, so we certainly look after on the used front. And the length of the range, Lance, I touched on that one there. We're 300 yards. We're just under. I think we were 300 yards back in the beginning. We snuck forward a little bit with our coverage and shooting bay. So I think it's 280 meters is what I usually go explain to people. So, but thanks.
We've got another. Sorry, go ahead, Sean.
Well, no, it's a great facility you got there, like right in your backyard too. And if you guys can check it out, if Wolverine Days happens, you can shoot there. It's great. So,
well, actually, go back. I'll get to the next question there, but get back up to the range side of things. We actually, for 2018, we expanded the range and then had it so we have another. I'll call it a bay. We doubled the width. We're about 200 yards wide. We're close to it, and I'll call it the South Bay because we shoot into the side of the valley. So we have one of the largest backstops around, or one of the highest backstops around, I should say, just because we have the natural valley hillside there. But Wolverine built 150 for the Wildlife Association because we wanted more space for the open house, and thank God we did. So that allowed our open house to progress from 22. Well, the shotguns and sporting clays on one end, and it goes we do it by caliber across the range, so from 22 long rifle all the way up to, well, at that time 50 is what we could shoot on our range.
And you guys are the sole distributor for Barrett in Canada, correct?
We are, but there's not a lot of Barrett was made on 50s, so it really hurts.
50s and then the
no
Rec
doubt.
7. You guys had a large push for the Rec 7 when it came out, and I'm like, I want one so bad.
Yeah. Right now, if I could get, a lot of people aren't familiar with their Fieldcraft hunting rifles. They make a nice lightweight rifle, but Barrett has got so busy because they keep winning contracts for MRADs in the U.S. and special operations community where Fieldcrafts are not high on their priority list, but we only need a handful or so a year in Canada. So
Yeah, when you got a military contract, I imagine that takes precedence, eh?
yeah, absolutely.
Well, and not only Barrett, you guys bring in the odd Krieghoff now and then, do you not?
Not. We have brought in a few. That's not a big line from us. We have we do have a family connection on that side of things.
Yeah.
But no, we don't do a lot. We don't bring in a lot. Obviously, it's a certain price point for many people.
For sure.
The double rifles and the over and under rifles, that's more, that certainly is I'll put a John, my father's passion, and that's what his hunting rifles are choice for. As he says, real guns have 2 barrels and 2 triggers. So, so that side of things, that's not my certainly area of expertise by any stretch of the imagination.
Interesting.
Well, I should probably ask Mike Hynek's question. I brought it up a couple of times, and I'm probably giving him seizures here in the anticipation. But Mike wants to know, is the MCR the final iteration of the Wolverine semi-auto rifles, or is there more coming?
That's a good question. As it stands today, I'm going to say yes. It's always been, as we all know in our market, it's the supply and the demand and building a rifle that suits our Canadian market. And I would say, as it sits today, I would say yes. Will there be tweaks or changes over like minor? I'll call them relatively minor or minor in nature. I know people that own them might not potentially say, well, you changed this or you changed part A to part B. Unfortunately, that's evolution. The Ford F-150 last year is different to the Ford F-150 this year because it's changing evolution as we go forward. So
it's not a new model; it's just improving as things are developing.
So good question, but I would say it is what it is. Other than you're going to potentially see some tweaks here and there.
How many calibers is the MCR available in now?
We released it as 3, so obviously 5.56, 2.24 Valkyrie, and 7.62 with 39. We only had a small number come out in 2.24 for Valkyrie, and then 7.62 with 39 has been one that has been some hurdles to overcome, from cartridge shape, the pressures, everything. It's not quite as putting that cartridge into a AR or an M4 magazine. That's not really where it fits as well. So there has to be changes on the operation side. So we're working through them to see what we can do.
And is that what the plans are, to stick with those 3 calibers for the time being?
Yeah, I know someone bought we've had 6.5 Grendel thrown at us. We've had some other stuff thrown at us, but yeah, there's only so many hours in the day and so many days in the week. So
yeah. So don't look for the 338 Lapua anytime soon.
Yeah. That'd be the case for it.
That seems fair.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we touched on this in the other questions
did.
or not. We did?
Yeah, we talked about the length of the outdoor.
Was that the first one? Okay.
That was the one I must have missed the first part of the question, but yeah.
Okay. Well, it is good to know Doug Rodenbush has joined us late, so we can start the show now. We do have his consent. That's always good to know.
48 minutes in.
Yeah, Doug, what the hell, man?
Anyway.
I thought we had another question here, but I guess we didn't have another question here.
No, I think that's about it. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask. We're here. But I see you have quite the selection of Athlon optics. That's huge. You guys graciously facilitated me getting my Midas TAC 6-24. So
that was a newer business relationship that came to light, and we're really pleased to be working with them. So working to bring that brand and spread it across the country and give it more recognition.
Nice. Okay.
Fantastic. Speaking of, I don't know why, but well, I do know why. I mean, Athlon just made me think about CPR or CRPS and how Rimfire seems to be enjoying a little bit of a renaissance right now. Have you guys found that at Wolverine? Are you getting higher demand for Rimfire, not only Rimfire firearms but also Rimfire ammunition?
We are, and someone like so for those who are listening that are from, I'll say, an older generation, and I'll pick on JR because I know he was poking fun at me earlier, but those have been involved in the industry for a long time or many years have seen the ebbs and flows, have seen the political changes, the political environments. Like I had a little bit of a story. I had a staff member talking about an AK-47, and was sort of talking about it, and there's a couple things weren't making a lot of sense. And I kind of looked at him. I said, "Have you actually shot one?" And he's like, "Well, no, I haven't." I said, well, we know how we kind of work around here. AK-47. I said that was something that I shot regularly as a 12-year-old kid going to a CFB Shiloh range. AKs, FN Fowls. My favorite rifle as a kid, I had a beautiful Belgian FN Fowl that was topped off with optic and a big box of 20-round magazines, and we had steel plate matches there and all kinds of stuff. We battled the Bulge. The Battle of the Bulge match was 3 stages. That was the winter match. We had Prairie Storm, which was sort of at the time AR. It was almost like the North America or the U.S. versus the Com Block. So SKSs and AKs versus the AR families. And these are all multi-stage matches or team versus team. Their sniper match was a 4-man team, or I say 4-person event, and shooting out to 1,400 yards. And these were falling steel plates. That was M14s, M1As, FN Fowls, everything. The Remington 700s and the heavy barrels, that was the few and the far between back then. So that's what I grew up shooting. The Battle of the Bulge, PPSH 41, 71-round drum magazine. I knew I was having a good match when I could do all 3 stages and part of the team and still be on the drum mag.
And not have to reload it.
If I had to go into a stick magazine, we were not doing well.
That's right. So when you shot the PPSH, I've handled one, but I've never had the pleasure of shooting it. But are you using it like holding the drum in the palm of your hand when you're shooting, or are you how are you doing that? Like, do you remember?
Jeez, I was 12.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I always thought it was silly
honest,
to.
I was probably resting on a straw bale. That was part of the obstacle.
Oh, there you go. Fair enough.
Resting the drum on a straw bale.
Because the PPSH is such a fantastic firearm, and but I always thought it was silly to hold it by the drum. Like you see some of the Soviet soldiers holding it by the drum, and then you see some guys holding it by the stock, and it's tough. But anyway,
what a tough and simple gun.
That's that defines the Soviet army in that day, right? So,
yeah, like it pivot forwards, you take it out. There's a recoil spring, there's a buffer, a guide rod, and a bolt.
It's almost like the Sten of the Soviets.
It was easier.
Yeah,
easier than a Sten. Yeah. Probably cheaper to make too.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. You can make a Sten for $30 in a hardware store at the.
Yeah, but we're also talking about Soviet Russia here.
Yeah.
So.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They didn't make all of their things with money.
That's right.
No, so sorry, I got a little bit off talk when you get back to some of those stories there. But
that's okay. It was a good segue.
So the question was, well, how is the market adapted? Well,
yes.
Where I was going with this, the market has adapted. So I shot those types of guns. Well, the magazine laws come in, right? Then the round of the CAs became the first round of Closet Queens and Kings. The converted autos weren't allowed out. So what happened? That was the first round where you start to see the AR market picked up. I'll say it was the start of the precision bolt gun market started. Back then, it was Model 70s and Model 700s and heavy barrels. The first of the chassis stocks come. So, like for one that comes to mind, the Accuracy International, right? The thumb hole AI chassis that came out for the 700 actions, and then you had a few more come along, and look where it's gone today. Where you've got companies that are making fantastic product, KDEX, MDT. You've got chassis all over the place that are fantastic products, and there's all different Magpul's got them. Everyone's got a chassis now, so you've got so many you can choose from and pick your poison.
And base, price point too. You got everything from the entry level all the way to the top echelon, and everything in between. And like you said, the choice has never been better. So
yeah, and that goes back to how the market has changed. Precision Rimfire. Why wasn't it done before? Well, people didn't. Because we had all the other stuff to shoot.
Yeah, we were allowed to shoot all the other stuff. Yeah.
So it is an evolution, right? Shooting IPSC, when I first started shooting IPSC, well, it was 18, 22 round magazines, right? So,
and the 9mm cost what 22 Ely does nowadays.
Yeah, I remember back then. So I was in high school, and I would reload ammunition. I think I was reloading, and I was reloading for our neighbors and local people, and I would charge them $4.50 for 50 rounds. And if memory serves me correct, I was doubling my money back.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're probably turning a good profit on it. Yeah. Yeah.
So that tells you where things have gone and how things have changed, right? So
yeah. Crazy. Well, we've got a couple of more questions here that we should get to, and it's from two different people. One's from Anthony.
Yeah.
And he wants to know what you shoot. And I think that means what type of firearm do you shoot? not what things are you striking with projectiles. And then the follow-up question there, because it's similar, is Brad wants to know, what does Jennifer shoot?
Yeah, what my wife shoots. Yeah. No, for myself, I'll be honest, I don't shoot as much as I used to. Did a little bit of 3-gun, like Prairie Fire, up in Saskatoon there, and a few local matches. IPSC in basically all in Manitoba, nationals out in Alberta, nationals when they were here, and sounds really poor, but found I got a little too busy. And when the political side, and it sounds bad coming from me, but the political side really soured it for me. And I didn't have the same passion. Where I found that the passion changed was when it came to hunting season and the fall. I started archery. Hadn't shot archery in my life. So what do? I start off by, I'm going to go put in for elk. That's how I started. My first
with elk
season was drawn for elk in southern Manitoba.
Wow.
And I was with our gunsmith, who's from back home, and he's been a archery hunter for many years. But that's sort of that. But then it was muzzleloader and into rifle season for that. Those parts, it was because my youngest son had now started shooting, and my wife, who someone asked what she shoots, she was wanting to hunt, and was my rebirth. And I do more. That's where I like to take my time and this year is not a great example, but the year before, because of where we live in the Assiniboine Valley, the number of days I got in hunting, I lost track because it was phenomenal. It was great. We were hunting down the south of Deloraine in the Turtle Mountains for elk. That's a 3-week season, and I think I managed to. There was one weekend I didn't go, and of course that's when my partner texted me texted me pictures as I went to Thunder Bay to visit my sister, saying. He's like, "Oh, I need your tag. You better come back." And I'm like, but it was a phenomenal experience, right? And that sort of has given me new energy. So more hunting than anything right now. I've said that yes, I am going to be shooting pistol this summer. Hasn't happened yet. They just had their first outdoor match in Manitoba this past weekend, and I know a couple of our local guys made the trek to Selkirk. But we'll see what happens. Stupid COVID, as everyone says.
Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting thing you said, how your interests have kind of changed, but they're still within the same thing. And isn't that just kind of the beauty of firearms in general, is that, like trap and skeet. Well, trap isn't even skeet, you know what I mean? But like we've lumped those two things together, but they're even like completely different sports. There's hunting, there's 3-gun competition, there's ELR competition, there's so many different things that are so different from each other, but they're all under the umbrella of firearms. And so, a guy like yourself, you can start out, well, not start out, but you can be heavily involved in something like 3-gun. And when your passion sort of shifts, or your interests sort of shift, you can go right into hunting and into something else and still be in that same world and still be a part of it.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. Like, I can give a snapshot. So I started off hunting, shooting out the front door, literally, of where I grew up, where Wolverine is. I was in the cadet program, so I got into precision small bore rifle. Went to the nationals in Ottawa, representing Manitoba. Biathlon came and I got introduced to biathlon, and that's sort of when I stopped playing hockey. When I started competing in biathlon, went to the Canada Winter Games there. Found out, there's some people. I found people from Alberta and Quebec and Ontario could ski way better than I can, so I couldn't make up for it. I couldn't just make up for it in the shooting department. So, and then like I said, and then it evolved into the policing world, where instruction and
where it becomes a tool of the job.
It became part of the job. Recreational shooting, and then the recreational shooting, and then I've had many different parts of it that I've been fortunate enough to compete and shoot in different areas. And a little bit of hunting. I used to regularly hunt in the Nipawin area. When I was in the Mounties, one of my best friends lives there. He had access to the land, and it was a Thanksgiving weekend tradition for about 8 years straight. We were going there because we were going duck and goose hunting. Mm-hmm. It's gone full circle. Stopped bird migration changes a bit. So this year, I went all the way to the Whiteshell to go hunt ducks with an outfitter there, and one of the Browning Pro staff here in Manitoba. Go to the Whiteshell, go great, gonna shoot ducks all weekend. 4 ducks. That was a lot of driving for 4 ducks.
For 4 ducks.
For 4 people.
And you ate them that night. Yeah.
That'll feed you for a meal.
So it's been, So like I said, I think everyone, we all find different things that we adapt to, and we change as we go. For me, I find I'm more into the hunting market now, and that side of things. So,
well, I don't know if you want to talk about it on air. Did you want to talk about your new line that you got coming on?
Well, we got a couple of things in the works. We are going to be Final Approach decoys. Haven't been in the country for a while. They've been hard to get, so we're working with Final Approach, and that will be being released in the next couple of days, hopefully by the end of the week. I'm a little bit behind, typical for myself lately, but we're going to be getting that out, and then we'll be working with another manufacturer for biodegradable ammunition in the shotgun world. So we're really excited about that. We'll be doing some introductions on that as we move forward. So
I do have a question about that. I don't want to cut you off. I'll keep going, but I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, so follow us on that. Will be, and it is, and it's 100% biodegradable, not just a wad.
So that is a really interesting concept. So what sort of, I'm trying to conceptualize what sort of materials we would be talking about there.
Well, okay, the brass is still there, but brass will decompose. The plastics, typical plastic hulls don't. So these are made from, I might say it wrong here, but it's memory serves me correctly. It's a plant-based product.
Really?
Plastic. So into the plastics, right? So that's fine. So the sign of the times, and we're looking really forward to it. So.
I'm gonna make a joke here and try not to get offended, but it is 2021 after all. Is it the Beyond Meat of shotgun shells?
Not what I thought of, but no.
Man, Sean, you just thought I'm sure Matt already has a name picked out, but Beyond Shotgun Shells would have been a great name.
No, so yeah, so but that's part of the adapting, right? And
Yeah.
and we're not the only business that's done it. You can look at your other retail stores, you can look at distributors finding different products and bringing them in, right? There's other optic lines coming in. We've got lines like, well, that go to your retail store and find a lever action. Pretty sure it might be hard to find these days, right? That side of things, lever action, and those markets. It doesn't help that Marlin closed its doors, so. But that's another thing. The muzzle loader side of things, there seems to be an uptake in muzzle loading, hunting, and shooting generally. Like I said, variety on the optic side. So we've got like ammunition. We know it's in short supply. It's coming in and going out. So there's room for new products, and the creativity and the time is. Excuse me. The time is now for a lot of stores and a lot of entrepreneurs.
Well, I don't want to push too hard because I don't know where you guys are at in the development of this, but are you your ammunition line? Are you looking at Canadian distribution or Canadian manufacturing and distribution?
Currently distribution side.
Distribution side, yeah.
Yeah, like that was funny. I actually had I had an MP ask me about making ammunition manufacturing in Canada. And he asked, why is it so limited? And I said, well, part of it is pure economics. It's volume. Our market is, well, everyone compares us to the U.S. We're a big country. We're bigger in land size, but
population is a tenth the size, right?
10%. You got it, right? Well, we all can relate to it in our work. So we got 10% of the population. So that means we got 10% of the people. And our shooting side is not a true 10% either. We often say 3 to 7%, depending on the category of what you're doing. Well,
2.2 million registered PAL holders, right?
Out of 37 million.
Exactly.
But 2.2 is just registered PAL holders. I mean,
that's right.
My wife has a PAL. She doesn't shoot at all.
Yep.
That's right. And it doesn't count for the youth and those who hunt with someone else and those side of things. So
Right.
Yeah. So, but that was sort of the reason. I think that it'd be great to see. But yes, you have Challenger made out in Quebec and
Score and Carberry there.
Score and Carberry were the two that I've been on and touched on right away for them. But as far as on the rifle and rimfire side, there's not too much that I'm aware of. But
IVI.
Well, that's what I said. General Dynamics, right?
Yeah,
but we know where their product goes. It's not into our market. So
I've got to imagine that would be a rather risky venture to start up in Canada. I can only imagine the startup cost to do a true
look at Black Sheep Brass,
facility.
like Brian at Black Sheep Brass. He's just processing brass. He's having a hell of a time.
Yeah.
Just keeping up and he's just the tooling alone is insane. The capital cost up front would be
I can only imagine.
It's just unreal.
Yeah. And my understanding, he's got a lot of his brass already spoken for right now. So it's hard for the retail stores to even get to pass on to the end users.
Yeah. And that's just brass. That's not even bullet manufacturers like Campro. I don't know if there's any other component manufacturers. I know one of your competitors is bringing in manufactured powder, but Canada Ammo, they bring in their Dominion line, or I'm not sure if they make it here or not, but
and that doesn't hang around much these days.
No, it doesn't. And so that's a tough market to get into, but you guys are fairly well stocked on components, are you not?
We're trying to be.
Yeah.
When possible.
Yeah. So
we you were talking about scopes a little bit here. We do have another question from Mike Heineck. He wants to know I suppose we should ask, are you planning on bringing in the
they have lots in stock right now.
You have them already?
We have some of them,
Okay.
So I was looking at picking one up.
Out on a particular one, but we have continuous orders coming in and out, and I know there were some new ones we were waiting on because there were some delays on the Athlon side of things. So
Okay.
Drop us an email or give us a phone call, and we'll we'll look after you and give you.
Yeah, hit him up, Mike.
Tell him we sent you, Mike. Hey.
Hey, I was just going to touch on someone. Someone asked what my wife shoots, and that's kind of funny because.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so my wife's not a tall lady, but she shoots a single shot. She shoots a Hanel an 8x56. So single shot hunting rifle. That's her.
Isn't that interesting? A single shot, hey?
Yep. She was coached by my father, so I can't do it. and they're both lefties. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, hey, man, a single shot hunting rifle. I mean, you got to respect that.
Yep. Well, we won't hold that against them, though. The fact that they're lefties.
Yeah.
Right
I'm sure you had another question here that I had seen, but where the heck did it go? You guys go ahead and talk amongst yourself. I'll find it.
Well, I was going to ask you, what lies, we talked about some of the lines you're bringing in, Matt, but, what lies, in a general sense, what lies in the future for you guys? Like what's the future look like for you?
Hey, we're going to evolve. We're going to adapt. We're going to evolve. I think that's one of the couple of key words here. We are restricted. Our restrictions is our location. We know that, right? So we have to be careful on our shipping and how we purchase product because in some cases it costs more to get it to us. We're not close to the big ports. We're in damn near the middle of the country, geographically speaking. So stuff takes time to get to us, and that sucks because we know that slows down us getting product to all of you. So we're adapting and trying to find products that suit everyone and the changing needs. Like you said, the ORPS, the PRS, how things have changed on that side of things. And we feel we've got a strong team of people behind us and support us in the business. And I like it when we get other, not necessarily industry people, but we get even RCMP people calling for advice because we've got certain people that know the system and understand it. I still get the odd phone call from police officers asking me something about the firearms regulations, and that was something that routinely happened before. And I'm like, I must be getting dated. So
you mean like I've got a guy on the side of the road, sort of stuff? Like
yeah, yeah. Like,
really?
Hey, we got this guy. What do I do with it? Or how are we supposed to proceed? No, we get that. No, we got a diverse team. We're always looking at new products, new ideas, new ways to reach in all of you as customers. So, and that's everything from Ty and Andrea there with the Breakfast Club to on the social media posts that garnish attention and working with looking different types of advertising, all that kind of stuff, right?
Is the MCR in the US?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No. That would be suicide. I'll say that would almost be suicide because I don't have enough in Canada.
Yeah. Well, and you're directly competing with the AR market in the US, which is it's a monster. And you're to be able to grab market share in that market is going to be tough.
There are companies making AR 180s in the US, but
they're being outsold 100-1.
I would imagine, yeah.
I would say at least that, right?
Yeah.
Right. Then you look at the big ones there.
Makes a lot of sense. I did find a question here. I knew Spudman had asked a question. He wants to know, in sales, does the 308 Winchester outsell the 6.5 Creed, or has the Creed surpassed the 308 Winchester?
That's a good question.
They each have a role to fill, in my opinion.
They do. I wish I could recall when our Browning rep was out, he gave the stats. Because they track, and this is just Browning, right? So it's one segment of one manufacturer. They were tracking their number one cartridge caliber selling for the previous 8 years was what caliber?
Probably not 308, 223, or 6.5 Creed.
No, it wasn't.
30-06.
That's a good question.
It was 30-06.
Yeah.
30-06. And
that's still what everybody's grandfather and uncle and everything is hunting with.
And I think it moved down to number 5 or 6 on their list now.
Really?
In 1 year. And
in 1 year.
6.5 Creedmoor is up there. I think, I remember certainly 308 was ahead of it, but 6.5 Creedmoor, the PRCs are moving ahead, that side of thing. As a whole, I would say 308 still outsells 6.5 Creedmoor because there's just more of those rifles out there, right? If you start getting into the match ammo side of things, I'll go with the edge. My hunch tells me 6.5 has the edge there.
Do you think
precision ammo sales?
Wow. Yeah.
And that's what I was just going to ask. Do you think that a lot of hunters are using 6.5 Creedmoor?
Well, Mike Heineck here says he'd never hunt with a 6.5 Creed again. I'm curious to hear why that is, because it's a softer shooting round that arguably does a lot. Like it'll take down any animal you within a couple 100, 300, 400 yards.
Sure, but it is more expensive, right? I mean, when you're talking about hunting,
is it?
Than 308?
Yeah, like comparing federal or like what's a line that you sell, Matt? Like comparing the soft bonded point to a soft bonded point. I don't know. They're kind of right neck and neck in my opinion.
Well, the thing is, we get there's a lot of people that think faster is better. Fast moving bullets, right? Not always better. One of my early pieces of educational reading I was given was John Taylor's African Rifles and Cartridges.
Oh yeah.
And if you want to read a book, and he talks about knockdown power. Can't remember the term. I should know this.
It's like stopping force or something like that.
Yes, and it was a calculation he came up with, right? So fast bullet is not always better. A slow bullet's not always better. And it's like, and I try to explain this, people will say, they'll come in and, it's 300 Win Mag, and they'll say, well, I want 150 grain because I want a fast, light bullet. Well, that's not always the right medicine for what you're doing it, because that bullet is flying. It's like trying to say the one set of tires will suit your car in all driving conditions.
Right.
But
yeah.
one bullet doesn't do it all.
Exactly. It's all about the application and your rifle platform and what you're looking to do with it and blah 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 blah. And so
that's a whole other conversation. And I'm not the ballistics expert by any stretch, but
no.
I would say on the hunting side, 308 has the edge still, but on the precision rifle side, I would say there's more 6.5 Creed.
Well, and considering 308 used to be the go-to for precision, right? For PRS.
Absolutely.
And now the 6.5, you're getting arguably better performance out of a 6.5 with a lighter or a softer shooting round that people can shoot it all day and then not leave with a sore shoulder because they're using Grandpa's Model 70 or whatever. And honestly, it's all in. I find that the caliber conversation is a lot like the Ford versus Dodge versus Chevy. It's all, there's data to back it, but it's all about personal preference. Like,
and hunting versus precision is a huge dynamic as well. You got to remember
for sure.
A lot of our hunting distances are not what we're doing in precision rifle distances. So there is a big thing to keep in mind with everyone, right?
Yeah.
So my hunting distances, I can't think of one that's being over 300 yards, right? So 6.5, 243, 270, 7 mil, 30-06, 308, they all fit.
That's right.
We're talking 800 meters plus now, 1,200 meters. Probably
is that an ethical shot? I don't know. Like
I'm just thinking cartridge performance, not even.
Oh yeah, okay.
No.
Whether it's an ethical shot or not probably depends on the individual.
Sure, very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
I know the last 3 years for me with whitetail. 3 years ago was at about 125 meters. 2 years ago was at about 150 meters, and last year was at about 35 meters. Any of those cartridges you're talking about would work, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I kind of want to change of pace here, Matt. If you don't mind, I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you.
Uh-oh.
So the CZ858. Okay.
Great.
Do you want to get into that? I think we should, because it was a great platform while we could have it, and I used to have one myself. I may or may not have one now. That's yet to be confirmed. But you went, but you went to great lengths with the fight there because of a stamp, correct?
Yeah, and that's still a sore point because.
Sorry to bring it up, but
and that was, and I'm not fully versed on this subject because that happened just as I was sort of coming into the business on a permanent basis. And basically what the SFSS said is that because it was new markings, made it a new model.
Well, didn't
That's
they
like
throw the
saying green
converted
paint,
autos though? Like, I thought they
green
threw that
paint
at you guys.
anymore. Sorry?
Oh, okay. Like the converted autos aspect, like you were talking about. Didn't they throw that card at you too?
Yes, and I'm not the right one to talk about
Yeah.
that because I don't know the technical aspects. I can't answer it for all of you, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to avoid it. I just can't answer it properly.
Well, and it's a definite pain point, right? But it goes to add to the fact that you guys have adapted. Like, you bring in this product because the market demands it, and then the RCMP throws that right hook and knocks you back a step, and you come back. Not saying you're in a fight with them all the time,
Right?
But it's you're adapting and trying to bring products to the market, yet you're facing so many setbacks. Like that's got to be tough. Like I'm not a business owner, but I'm in business myself. But I couldn't. The amount of capital you have on the line that I couldn't even fathom.
You have to adapt or die, man.
That's right.
When you don't really have a choice. If it's your passion, if it's what you want to keep doing, man, you gotta make it work.
Well, you also probably drink a little more and you don't sleep a much. Too.
And you grow a beard and
Yeah. Start a podcast and Anyways, all right. Well, we covered a fair amount, Matt. I sincerely appreciate you coming on. I know I've been bugging you for about a year now.
No problem.
Come on, sending you those messages here and there. Oh, Sean, I can't. I'm too busy. And okay, well, if I finally caught you at a good time, so
yeah, you forgot. I swore it. I figured you just forgot for a while. He's like, I don't want that guy anymore.
How dare you, sir? No, how can I forget that? It's you guys are such a mainstay, and like even when you guys updated your website from the past website to the new website, and I'm just like, wow, these guys are the ticket. Like they're phenomenal.
I don't think anybody can deny that Wolverine is kind of like at the heart of the gun industry, and not just because you're firmly implanted in the middle of the country. I mean, like figuratively and geographically, like Wolverine is everywhere and doing everything. Like, honestly, what would we have to replace the AR right now if not for Wolverine Supplies? Like, realistically, let's be honest about that.
The Type 97.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, you'd have two bullpups to choose from. You'd have the RDB and the
three, the Tavor.
Right? The Tavor. Oh, right, and the Tavor. I'm sorry,
but
the
still,
three bullpups, right?
But nothing can compete to the manual of arms of the AR, and then even being in bed with Barrett and the amount of Rec 7s you guys had too, like, and then Daniel Defense and. Oh, I'm not like. I don't want to say sympathy is the wrong word, or the right word, but it's we got a feel for you, man, and with the legal challenge you guys have going on, thank you. If people can support you, where can they support you with that?
Well, there's a few, and I have to be careful here because the CCFR challenge is obviously the one Wolverine Supplies is labeled in, and working with that. Their team of lawyers there, and obviously there's a few other challenges going on as well. Like we are not the only one; there are other ones. So you guys, there's choices out there. CCFR they're moving forward and onto the next stage of that. But there's a few other challenges in place that we haven't got before the court yet. So that obviously my father is involved with one. J.R. Cox is involved with one.
Yep.
There is I'm missing a couple. I don't remember them.
Ryan Stacy for International Barrels has one.
KKS Tactical, right?
Yeah.
So there's a few different ones.
Oh my! Sorry, better late than never. Let's see. I don't think his camera. There we go. We have better late than never. Hey, buddy. Anyway.
So there's a multiple challenges.
For International Barrels has one. Mute
Rooster,
your mic, Kurt.
Yeah, sorry.
There we go. I got him. Anyway.
Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So there's a number of challenges, and they all deserve support. They're all taking different aspects. They all aren't taking the same approach, which is fantastic.
That's
I
right.
think we need multiple approaches on that. So we can move forward and protect people's, protect everyone's property, protect the shooting sports, protect the retail stores, protect the industry, the manufacturers. The list goes on all across the country there, and so there's an important part for there. So there's a number of ones that you can reach out and do some quick Googling, and then you'll pull up the place pull up the list of who's going, where they are, and how you can support them.
Definitely.
Fantastic.
Well,
did he leave?
Yeah. Well, he didn't have his mic on.
Yeah.
So
He didn't have his headphones. Yeah.
But regardless, hey, props to you guys. Thanks for partnering with the CCFR too and helping.
Yeah, it can't be easy being a part of the head of that spear.
No. Again,
been interesting.
Yeah.
I think they're the full body of the spear right now, considering all the shit they've gone through. Hey,
you're not wrong about that. Yeah.
Oh man, it's that spear is embedded deep right now. So, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, let's Matt, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Let's bring Kurt back in for a quick show here. There, hey Kurt, glad you can join us.
On now, Kurt.
Well, I wasn't smart enough to shut the feed off on Facebook when I was trying to get on here.
Well, like I said, better late than never. But we're about to wrap up here. So, Matt, where can everybody find you?
Hey guys, well, you can find us www.wolverinesupplies.com. That's the easiest. I'll get you to our website from there, or sales at Wolverine, or you can call us 204-748-2454, or as you'll see on some of them, we even accept carrier pigeons if you can figure that technology out.
So, challenge accepted.
I'm so looking for a carrier pigeon roost.
What about smoke signals? Can you see that from Regina? Because I can't leave now. So
yeah, exactly. There's that border is well protected.
Oh yeah, because
does anybody over there still read Morse code?
Yeah.
Well, it is Manitoba, so I wouldn't. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Well, right on. Well, thanks, Matt, for coming on. We appreciate it. Kurt, do you have any final statements?
No final statements at all. I'm just glad I'm done work.
There you go.
Good show, by the way, you guys. You're playing in the background while I was slaving away.
Oh, nice.
Good
thanks,
show.
buddy.
We're glad you're here for the end of it, at least.
Yeah. Let's go around the table and do some shout outs here. Let's start with Chris. Do you have any shout outs this week?
Are you sure you want to start with me? Because I have to tell a little bit of a story for my show.
Hey, we got time. We got 3 minutes.
Okay, here's the thing. Most people don't know this, and this is the first time I think I'll have said this on air, but my father died young and unexpectedly about 3 years ago. And the year that he died, that year when I went out hunting, I took his knife that he had for decades, and it was a buck, fixed blade buck model 119, and it was in phenomenal shape, and it was my dad's knife. He had this story on his left hand. He had like no meat right here because one year he had slipped and like literally gutted his hand, and so there's a lot of history, a lot of story, a lot of sentimentality to that knife, which is why I carried it for hunting the year that he passed. And being the dumb son of a bitch that I am, in my big parka, it was just sitting in my pocket. I lost it out in the field somewhere and had no idea where it was. So at first I was super bummed for quite a while. And then a friend of mine mentioned to her, he's like, well, you know what, maybe your dad just wanted to take his knife with him. And I thought that was a great thought, and made me feel a little bit better.
That's a great comment. Yeah.
Yeah. So I let that be. I let that be what it was for the last 3 years. I'm looking at Extreme Range Outfitters on their auction site just earlier this week. And friggin' eyes nearly popped out of my head. They had Buck Model 119 knife with the same leather scabbard for it, and I thought, holy Christ, like, is it possible? Because like this isn't a super common knife anymore. Is this even possible? And I didn't want to get my hopes up too much, but I went over to XRO and Sean, Rooster, you guys have been dealing with them for a very long time. You know everybody there. I'm still relatively new to the shooting community, and I'm certainly new as a public figure in the shooting community. So they don't really know me, and I walked in just as some dude off the street, and I'm thinking, this could create some issues for them. What if this is my dad's knife? It's up for auction. Like, what if the owner is being it could just cause a lot of havoc for them. I walked in, told them the story, asked if I could take a look at the knife, and they were just 100% like, yeah, come. They walked me into the back. They let me take a look at it, and I also could have been just a complete friggin' whack job, just looking to get a free knife. Like, they have no idea, but they did everything professionally, appropriately. They were there every step of the way, and I'm looking at this thing. Unfortunately, it was not my father's knife. It was kind of, in much rougher shape and all that. So it ended up being all much ado about nothing. But I think the reason I'm telling this story is that for what it could have been, both for me and for, XRO and who knows, I think the way that XRO handled it was just amazing, and they were so accommodating, and with just some schmo off the street who thinks he might have found his dad's knife that he lost in the woods. They were just great people, and
You're good folks over there.
Fantastic folks. So they're my shout out. That's what I'm giving a shout out for this week, because
nice.
It was in a tense couple of minutes.
I can imagine. Well, we were on the phone while you were on the way over there, and
that's right. Yeah.
That was I could just feel the anxiety coming through the phone, and
I don't get anxiety very often. I'm not an anxious guy, but I'll be honest with you. I was kind of anxious for the possibility. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad Ben and his crew accommodated. They just hired a good friend of mine for their new store opening, Grant Gresty. He's a competitive shooter here, retired, and Matt, Grant. So yeah, he's their wealth of knowledge too. So shout out to those guys. So, and
their new location looks fantastic.
Does it ever?
Unreal.
Yeah.
Kurt, who do you got?
Oh, this week I got Great Birch Solutions. I got that action and barrel from you, Sean, that they'd sent out. Got that thing put together week and a half ago. I haven't had the chance to get out and shoot it yet, but it is a peach. And shout out to you, Sean, for the supplying the stock.
Magpul Hunter. Magpul Hunter I purchased.
That is a nice stock for that.
It's really well, yeah. And it fits the kids and the girlfriend as well.
Nice.
You bet.
Nice. Mr. Hipwell, who do you got this? Who are you going to shout out this week?
You know what? No, I'm not going to name anyone in particular, but it's to all of you as the customers who we get to look after and support. Thank you very much, and we appreciate your guys' support through the times that we're ever adapting to. So thank you, and we look forward to hearing from you all.
Fantastic.
Love it. Well, my shout out is to John Johnson and his band, the Dirt Road Scholars, for the kick-ass music this week. And every week, he's still working on a new tune for us, so stay tuned. But I wanted to add one thing before we end the show, guys. If you can, and you still have Facebook or YouTube, go and like our Facebook page. Leave us a like or review or whatever you can. It would mean a hell of a lot.
The algorithm.
Well, that's right, and the algorithm is against us, right? So we need all the help we can, and considering we do have some range clips on our YouTube stream, we can't monetize because of that. So, anything helps, guys. So please check us out there. A lot of you listen on Facebook, but a lot of you also download too. So it would be nice for you guys to check us out. And also, when you are downloading, leave us a review on there, whatever platform you're using, Apple, Google, Spotify, whatever. whether it's good or bad, especially if it's bad, if you don't like what content we're putting out there, let us know. Like, well, we love criticism, so any review will help. So be honest.
Feed on it.
That's right. So, and that's all I got. So thank you, Mr. Hipwell, for coming on finally. I appreciate it. And this was a great show, guys. Kurt, I'm glad you could join us. And Chris, I'm sad to hear about your dad's knife, but.
Well, I'm just going back to he wanted to take it with him. I'm okay with that thought.
That's right. Well, cool, guys. Well, thanks. Appreciate it. And we will see you next week.
You're welcome, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Matt.